It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman and this is the Forum on Eagle Community Television. We get to talk about some fun things today. Whooping cranes, all that fun stuff, and Cheyenne bottoms with our guest Curtis Wolf. Curtis, good to have you again here.
Thanks. It's a great opportunity to come and talk to the Hayes community.
You know what, we were talking and we were trying to remember the last time, it was 3 or 4 years ago that you had a chance to be here and talk about Cheyenne bottoms. What has been changing? What do you worry about when you go year to year at Cheyenne bottoms?
Well, you know, with a wetland, obviously probably the biggest thing is water availability.
It needs to be wet to be a
wetland.
It
It absolutely does. And as we found a couple years ago, when we went through the severe drought, 2012 and 2013, we were basically totally dry. And when you have a wetland that's totally dry, not much happens. The birds that typically stop there, which is what Cheyenne Bottoms is known for, they don't. They move right on through and go to another area because they are totally reliant on that habitat there.
Now, do you have a percentage of, Phil, what are you now compared when it was completely dry? That would be zero, but what is it when you, where are you at now?
That's a good thing to try to estimate anyway. And we're okay. There's water in basically all the pools except for one, which the state is keeping dry to do some cattail management down there. But all the other pools, they've got water in them. I'm guessing maybe total we're probably at 60 to 70% full.
So at least that's on the right side of things, because
Absolutely.
when there's, as you say, there's no water, there's no birds that are going to
That's
stop.
exactly right. And the nice thing is this fall we had wonderful habitat for shorebirds coming through. Because the water levels were down a little bit, it created huge mud flats out there. They were just prime habitat for the little sandpipers and plovers coming through looking for food in that mud.
You mentioned sandpipers. We were talking earlier about how much you've learned in being in this
Absolutely.
job. How many species of birds will go through the wildlife area?
Well, Cheyenne Bottoms, there's been documented 347 species of birds that have been documented on Cheyenne Bottoms itself. Obviously, not all of them are there at all times. There's some that are very rare ones that have just come in. But it's not uncommon for to go out there during the spring or fall migration and be able to pick up 100 to 125 species of birds in a matter of a couple days, if you know what you're looking for. Obviously.
Yeah, some of it looks like a big bird and a little bird, but in your case,
that's right.
Do you have to do that? Is there a requirement in your job to go out and make sure you see how many different?
Not formally.
Okay.
There are biologists that do shorebird counts during particular times of the year and waterfowl counts. They go out and actually do some counting of things. But we go out. It's beneficial to us to know what's there because that's what the visitors are wanting to know. And so we've got a nice sightings board at the Education Center for visitors to come in and see what's been reported over the last couple days or couple weeks. And then we have opportunities like Christmas bird counts and that sort of thing that we use to go out. It's kind of a citizen science program where we get volunteers to come out and do some of that counting and identifying the birds too.
Well, as I understand, that's going on right now where you're just completing really a count, doing that this week. But what are you seeing for counts of birds right now?
As with most living things, there's a lot of variability and populations go up and down. Overall, I think most bird species are hanging in there pretty good, but there's always some annual increases and declines. But overall, if we've got water and we've got the habitat, the birds really are in there too.
Now, during the prime season, when the migration is going on,
right,
there'll be thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of birds?
Absolutely, there's no doubt. And particular times of the year are just incredible. Here during the winter months, the number of geese is incredible. I mean, we've been seeing groups of 200, 300,000 geese using Cheyenne Bottoms at one time. And then in the spring,
and they pay you to do this job. Just
yeah,
hang out
exactly.
and do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What a great sight, though.
Terrible place to work.
You see this where you drive. We were driving back just a couple weeks ago from Kansas City and noticed there was I'd call them white geese, snow geese.
Yep.
And they were just covering the field, and it was just gorgeous watching all those birds.
That's right now out there. You can see just this mass numbers of birds, and in the springtime we get the same thing, but it's shorebirds and it's different species there that are using Cheyenne Bottoms.
Now, someone here over the holiday season, is there a time that works well over the holidays for them to come down and visit, or especially during, maybe spread that out over the winter months?
Right.
What's the best times to come visit you?
We get asked all the time, when do I need to come to Cheyenne Bottoms? Bottoms? And really the answer is it depends on what you want to see, but really there's any time during the year there's particular things to see. In the wintertime, it's a great time to see eagles. Bald eagles congregate down on Cheyenne Bottoms, and there can be some big numbers of those, which everyone likes to see bald eagles. And then you get the concentrations of geese and ducks and that sort of thing too. So you can see a lot of stuff then. It shifts, and then in the springtime we get the shorebirds coming through, the other wading type birds. And in the summertime you have a different thing. So it just really doesn't matter. And the nice thing too, we've got the education center down there, so you can go see what's out there, but there's some, a little bit more permanent exhibits and that sort of thing with the education center.
And that's
too.
also inside due to weather, so you can,
Absolutely.
if it's really a nasty day, you can stop by and be inside and take a look that way.
Absolutely.
What is the accessibility for somebody who wants to visit? Maybe they can't get around as well. Is it easy to just watch from the main area, or can you actually help them get to other places?
What we tell most visitors is the best thing to do if you're going to come and drive through Cheyenne Bottoms, which a lot of people don't realize, there's these dike roads that you can drive through the middle of the wetlands basically, and you can access pretty much the whole area. Basically the whole basin is public access. And we tell visitors the best thing to do, the best way to see birds is to stay in your vehicle. You use it as a blind basically, and then you're mobile. You can move to where the birds are, and they're not going to be as skittish as if you get out of a vehicle and start walking somewhere too.
What do you recommend people bring along with them if they want to go through Cheyenne Bottom?
There, binoculars is almost key. You can see birds without, with just unaided eye, but if you have a pair of binoculars, they don't even have to be high dollar ones, but just something to be able to see a little bit more distance is great, and I'd highly suggest that. If you have a bird identification guide, that's a great thing too, because a lot of people drive through and say, well, I saw this bird, I have no idea what it is. But if you can, if you can thumb through a little bit, if you have an identification book or get a photo of it.
Are those available? Are those available
Absolutely.
at the Learning Center?
We have a great gift store, and one of the main things that we sell a lot of are bird guides and other wildlife guides as well, field guides. So.
Your staff down there, what do they do this time of year?
Well, the winter time is probably our least busy time, but the nice thing is it gives us some time to prepare for all the programs that come up in the spring, because the springtime gets pretty crazy with the school groups and the school programs that we do, just the visitors coming in because the birds are there with the migration. Springtime is just a crazy time period, so we get all of the planning together for those events here during the winter time.
Well, Curtis, we'll talk about springtime coming back. Also talk about some of the counts of birds and whooping cranes. We'll talk about
Absolutely.
those because those seem to be a highlight for a lot of people. Yeah. Curtis Wolf has been our guest here, the first half of our program on the Forum. The Forum is brought to you by Hayes Med.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our Forum here on Eagle Community Television. The Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. If you have questions, ideas, or suggestions for future shows, let me know. Gary.Shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also find us on Facebook under ECTV Forum. Be our friend there and let us know your ideas for another program here on the ECTV Forum. Our guest is Curtis Wolf, and he's the manager of the Kansas Wetlands Education Center. It's a great facility down by the wetlands near Great Bend in that area. And when we left, we talked about springtime, but before we go talk about springtime programs, let's talk about the whooping cranes, because those are not only massive birds, they're so cool to watch. How many of those have been through?
This year, we've had an okay year. We haven't had a lot that have stopped at Cheyenne Bottoms. We've had a couple groups of them, but more of them have stopped down at Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, which is the other wetland that's about 30 miles south of us. And they've had a lot of whooping cranes that have stopped this year. And if people don't realize what whooping cranes are, they're probably the most endangered bird in North America. This is a bird that you go back to the 1940s and there was 16 of them left in the world. That's it. And they have come back through breeding programs and being protected and by the Endangered Species Act and other forms of protection. And there's about 300 of them in the wild now. And they typically funnel right through the middle of Kansas here and stop at Cheyenne Bottoms and Quivira as well. on both their spring and fall migrations. And so we've had some, and the exciting thing is when they stop in, I mean, everyone gets a buzz about it. I mean, because this is a bird that stands 5 foot tall, it's bright white, it has a 7-foot wingspan. It's a huge bird, and when you throw in there that there's only 300 of them left in the world, it's a big deal when we get a group of them that come in.
When you see those fly in, are they, once they land at, say, Cheyenne Bottoms, will they land there every time, or why do they choose Quivira, or do they just have based on who has the most water, or what's
yeah, there again, it all comes down to habitat and weather, you know, of when they're coming through and what's pushing them. Sometimes they're interested in maybe stopping for a day and just resting a little bit, maybe just overnight, and then they're going to pick up and head on their journey.
Now you have a couple pieces of technology. One is an app.
Yes.
Does that help alert people to know when the whooping cranes are there? Can you?
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that we haven't actually looked into for that app. But the Great Bend Tribune, the newspaper in Great Bend, has actually put together a community app called GB2Go. And we have a particular kind of featured site within that app, and one of the things that we've done is put together some driving tours. And that's probably the big benefit of that app, is that if people come and visit Cheyenne Bottoms, you know, we can take them out on a tour. We also do guided tours in a van, but they can also use their smartphone and access points that as they drive through Cheyenne Bottoms. And there's little video clips and all sorts of information that really gives them a little bit of an interpretive guide as they drive through Cheyenne Bottoms.
I would think if some of those, you know, an app that would alert you to do that would be kind of fun to have. So that, you know, as you do, especially, I assume somebody can call though and ask about that as well if they want to do that.
Absolutely.
One of the things I know that has happened there, and you guys have had a couple people that have written books about the different birds, but just recently you had a book signing. Tell me about that.
That's right. You know, there's constantly research being done on the birds and other wildlife there at Cheyenne Bottoms, and one of the big projects that is always, you know, being looked at are just documenting the birds itself. And there's a book that was written by Robert Penner, who he works for the Nature Conservancy, who owns about 8,000 acres on Cheyenne Bottoms. And his background is bird life, and so he wrote a book called The Birds of Cheyenne Bottoms, which goes through and provides some excellent information about when particular species are going to be there, what years high counts of them have been seen, and just as a great kind of all-around guide for, you know, what birds to see at Cheyenne Bottoms. And Rob did a little book signing here at our holiday open house a couple weeks ago, and it was just an opportunity to get the book out there and that sort of thing, and something that we've got.
Now, is that book available at different sources? It's available at your education center, correct?
It's available there. We help sponsor the printing of it a little bit. It's a whole $5, so it's not an expensive venture by any means.
But what a fun maybe gift if somebody's interested in birds and outdoors and what goes on at Cheyenne Bottoms. That'd make a great gift.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So
now, if you go down and visit the education center, can you go online and find out what activities are taking place as we go into springtime? Because you see these different events taking place. You say, boy, I'd like to be involved this weekend. What's the best way to do that?
Couple avenues for that. Our website, we keep it very updated, and there's events are always posted on there. It's wetlandscenter.fhsu.edu, and people can go on there and check out some descriptions of what events are coming up. The best way, though, that we've found is we send out a little e-newsletter about once a month that has all the activities that are coming up, and people can sign up for free for that to get that newsletter. Probably best just to call the education center, and we'll get you signed up on that, and we won't send you a lot of other filler or anything like that. It's basically just a little informational newsletter that we get out there, and that we found that's about the best way to get the word out. And a lot of people from the Hayes community come down for events.
What when I interview you and Curtis talk about this, the excitement that you have for the Wetlands Center down there, because you've been at it now for 6 years down there.
That's right.
Seeing the birds, and we chuckled a little bit about, boy, do they pay you to do a fun job like this, but you do a nice job of really telling the story about what's going on. And for those people who are interested in that, I'm guessing you have people pull off interstate and come down from all over the country.
We do.
Do you keep track of that?
We do. We keep track all the time. And this fall and into the winter months, I've seen more out-of-state people this year, it seems like, than a lot of years. And a lot of those have been hunters that have been down hunting, and people from Georgia and Florida and all these different areas come in, and they know about Cheyenne Bottoms. I kind of joke in that, as with a lot of things in your own backyard, the people from well outside of that oftentimes know more about those attractions than the people right there. And that seems to be the case sometimes at Cheyenne Bottoms. And the people that are into bird watching, into hunting, they know about Cheyenne Bottoms. And sometimes it's the locals that we have to educate a little bit more.
Well, hopefully this program will help. If someone would plan to go down there, say from the Hayes area, what should you expect from a time commitment? Take your binoculars, one.
Yep.
Maybe something to eat or drink if you're driving around in your car.
Absolutely.
But what should they anticipate? Is that a 2-hour, a 5-hour, a 14-day deal?
Right.
How can you do it?
You know, people can spend about as much time as they'd like to down there. We encourage people to, there's a lot of different attractions kind of within Cheyenne Bottoms that they can check out. And I mean, you can literally spend several days and not see all of Cheyenne Bottoms. But if you went down, I think it'd be a great day trip from someone at Hayes to go down there, spend some time looking at the wetlands themselves, checking out the education center. There's other stuff along the Wetlands and Wildlife Scenic Byway, which there's some attractions along with that. And that'd be a wonderful day trip, and you know, can come back and after that.
I like your enthusiasm, Curtis.
Hey, thanks.
Curtis Wolf has been our guest. He's the manager of the Kansas Wetlands Education Center down at Cheyenne Bottoms. Hope you get a chance to take a look online at your website again is? wetlandscenter.fhsu.edu. So find out more there, and hope you get a chance to go down and visit Cheyenne Bottoms. It'll be a great trip. Thanks for watching the Forum here on Eagle Community Television. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.